some decent news out today. We're going to be looking at the stock market, showing you guys some support and resistance and some news. So to start off, let's start off with some news. Let's start off with some news. So before we start, we're just going to kind of speed run some news. So unemployment reports indicate a slight uptick in unemployment claims. EA is down 18% with lower than expected revenue from its gaming sector. GE Aerospace reports strong profits and is going up. It is up 7% right now. American Airlines reported better than expected profit and revenue, but fell 9.5%. But I think before they reported, American Airlines have been going up consistently, but now we're kind of seeing a downtrend right now. Analysts observe a potential shift in market dynamics with a move from bearish to bullish options, showing a positive outlook, especially in sectors like tech, AI, and semiconductors. With that being said, we're recently showing more bearish, like basically put options, but options were looking more bearish before, but now we're looking more bullish, which is a good thing. And for the retirement, they're going to include 10% of the retirement to Bitcoin. So they're going to be investing 10% of people's retirement into Bitcoin. Sorry if I said that wrong at first. We also have some good news with crypto a little bit that Trump is actually going to be signing some things later on. So we're going to be seeing more about that. But with that being said, we got some decent news, but some bad news with some chip stocks with NVIDIA. We're going to be talking about that in a couple of minutes. But before we start, Trump wants to demand lower interest rates immediately. We also got CNN laying off 6% of their workforce, basically. And we do have some, so $500 billion deal. I think Elon has been kind of skeptical about it, but it might still be in the works, but we still need to see more news about that to see those stocks go up. So keep that in mind if you're looking into NVIDIA and some other stocks that kind of go along with it, like ARM, Meta, not Meta, sorry, Microsoft, because they're kind of with OpenAI. Also, Trump wants to lower oil prices, so keep that in mind if you're invested in the oil. Top daily losers, like I said before, we got EA down 17% now, and some other ones too. Not really any major ones, honestly. We got some major ones, but not too many. We got Rigetti. Rigetti's been moving up and down recently. Like you'll see it up 10%, down 10%. Right now we're down 3%. So keep this in mind if you like day trades or just like swing trades. You can probably swing trade this one a decent amount just because just the way it moves. NVIDIA, we got NVIDIA kind of down, but hopefully we can see it up later on. We're about to be meeting those highs once again, hopefully, or we might not even reach close to it. I do want it to get to that 150. We'll be looking at it on the chart later on, but I do want it to hit that 150 line. Got American Airlines down 7% with those. Basically, it had good earnings, but at the same time, we did see it fall. And Palantir moved a decent amount today. So keep that in mind. But we do have NVIDIA kind of coming out indicating uncertainty in the semiconductor demand this year. So keep that in mind too. So other chip stocks kind of fell, and we seen NVIDIA fall a little bit today. And Rigetti, as you guys can see, like it's kind of like volatile, but you can see it up and down every now and then. But with that being said, let's look at the stock market overall. We got NVIDIA down just a little bit, Microsoft down just a tiny bit. We're kind of like neutral right now with the market. I'm not even gonna lie, we haven't really been moving around too much. We do got Visa up, some MasterCard up a decent amount. We don't really have any decent gains except for Netflix. We're gonna be talking about Netflix too today because Netflix did indeed it kind of looks like it's trying to like come back from that to that $1,000 level. As you've seen, we did have a big sell off yesterday, probably just people taking profits from their earnings after hours. Like look at this insane increase. But honestly, I thought it was gonna be a falling stock again, but I mean, they showed some decent highs with their new members. I think they beat it by like 10 million, which is insane. But that being said, we're almost like we're kind of almost halfway up, back up from the sell off yesterday. So I think later on this week or later on next week, we might be able to see it retest that 1,000 and probably even break above that 1,000 line. We might see a stock split with Netflix later on. But with that being said, let's start off with Tesla. We did indeed have some decent price range today. But with that being said, we did kind of bounce off that 418. And then we've been kind of on that 410. It's been bouncing off that 410. We still have 4 hours left of market open, so this can really determine the future. But with that being said, we are looking pretty bearish right now, like throughout the whole day. So we kind of just have to see what happens. I think we might be able to break that 410 and then go all the way down to like 405 today, maybe even 400, test that 400 level. But with that being said, we have like no really good news with Tesla themselves. So we kind of just have to wait for good news for it to fuel back up. With that being said, I do want to see it going to the downtrend today. Maybe breaking that 410 level, 408, 405, and then testing that 400 level, and then down 400. I think the max we can probably see is probably 395, but we're going to see that 395 level, see how it reacts. If you can go down 393 and then 390. So keep that in mind to the downside. We are looking pretty bearish right now, below VWAP, stuff like that. But with that being said, back up to the upside, I think that 411 right now is kind of like key to look at how it's, or not 411, 412. Sorry, that 412 is key to look at right now to see how it reacts on that. And then maybe breaking the trend, we can see 413 and then going up to 415. I think 415 breaking that VWAP above, we can see it pretty decent. It's been bouncing off VWAP for a while today. It kind of bounced above it, but then went below it again. So I think 415 and then maybe 420 later on. We did bounce off that 420 earlier at market open, so keep 420 in mind. But that's for like maybe Friday, which is tomorrow, and or next week. So keep that in mind for Tesla. In the video, we're kind of seeing kind of bearish. We did have some good news yesterday with the $500 billion deal, but with that being said, I think for the AI deal, we need to see more news with that too for those stocks to benefit, like I said earlier. But with that being said, I think we might be kind of falling a little bit with Nvidia. There's no good news today that really should fuel it. So I think we're going to be falling a little bit more. We might just be balancing out, back down. Maybe we might see it back down to that 140 level next week. With that being said, we might maintain that 144 level. We kind of bounced off it earlier. Kind of bounced off 144 earlier, but we kind of just want to see what happens with the 144 level. If you bounce below that, we might be going down to 143, 142, and then testing that 140 level. 141 is going to be key too, but I think 140 is going to be more key. So keep 140 in mind with it going down. But if you want to go to the upside, I think 146 is going to be key. And it did bounce off that 146 like 146.3. We could say, and we'll see how it bounces with that 146.3. If we can bounce above that, we could probably even see 147 again and probably test that 148 once again, and then going up to that 150. I'm really hyped to see what happens at that 150 if we do continue a bullish trend, but I think we just need great news with it. Keep in mind, we do have earnings next week for a lot of major tech stocks, so understand that. SPY, we're doing pretty strong with SPY a little bit. I think we're up a little bit, but we're still kind of fluctuating, just depending on how the big stocks really move. Be talking about a few later on. I am very, very pumped to talk about Microsoft though, and Amazon. I'm pumped for Amazon because Amazon is reaching around its highs again, which is insane. That being said, I I don't think I'd trade any more bullish plays for SPY unless we see some good news with some key stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. We do have some good news with Amazon though, so that's pretty decent. We are down, but I kind of want to talk about that a little bit later because we can see some decent trends with that one. But with that being said, to the upside, because we are looking pretty bullish. We do have a little bit of a sell off, but we're still looking pretty bullish. I do want to see what happens right now. So if we can make another higher high, we can still go up, maybe get that 609 level. But with that being said, we'll look at some key levels. So right now, how it reacts with that 607, see if we can get a little bit more out of that, and then maybe get that 608. And that 608 will be making a new higher high, making us eligible to go to that 609. But I honestly, with the way the market's looking today, I don't think we'll even hit that 608 level. We might be looking at some higher lows. So with that being said, to the downside, I would look at 607 flat, see how it reacts with that because it kind of bounced off it earlier. And then 606 and then 605 and then some lows of like that 604.7 and then probably even going down. We might see it below the 600 level next week, just depending on how the stocks move. But honestly, that's kind of rare right now, but we'll see. Next, we're going to be talking about Amazon because as you guys can see, let's go to the 4-hour time frame. We've been close to that high. I mean, we made a high, but today we kind of fell off with a little sell off. So keep that in mind. We're kind of looking a little bearish, but it might have just bounced off the high and then we might have a little bit of a sell off and we might go up and or we might just make like another higher low, maybe come back and then keep going down just a little bit and maybe just have like a little balance off with Amazon. But with that being said, some price targets that I would look at right now, we're kind of looking to the downside, but it's kind of 50-50. So with that being said, I would look at it for the downside, bouncing down below even more to that 233 level, 232, and then 230 is going to be key. So keep 230 in your mind. But I don't think we'll get lower than 230 today. And I am pretty bullish with this stock right now, depending on how it reacts more with the highs. If it can bounce back up, we're looking at that 235 level and then 237 and then maybe all the way up to that 240. But Amazon, I'm not really too sure. Don't really quote my targets, but that's just targets of it breaking if it can break. But I am pretty bullish right now, just depending on how we can go with highs and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. We do got earnings coming up too on the 30th. So keep that in mind. We got a lot of key stocks on the 30th. With that being said, we did have some decent news. I think apparently Apple's going in like the space sector. I'm not really too sure about that. I just heard about that. So that's not verified, but I heard some good news about that. But at first, I'm gonna say at first because now we're looking pretty bearish. But we did go pretty. We went up to like the 227 level and we bounced off. We do have this bearish trend and it kind of just bounced off of it. So 227 we bounced off with Apple and we're kind of looking bearish right now. But I think honestly, if we can buy it back at the 220 or even 222 today, and just like a call or something if y'all are interested, but just see how it reacts on the 222 level later on today. You can probably get like a 1 week call and just see how it reacts because we are looking decent, but not too decent. We are looking pretty bullish after hours, but at the same time, or pre-market, sorry, after pre-market. But we are looking pretty bullish at first, but then now we're kind of bearish. So we kind of just got to see what's happening. So as long as we don't get more bad news with Apple, of course, I think this is a decent level for Apple right now. This is a decent priced range for it. And I think we can hit that 230 to that 240 level later on, but not anytime soon. But with that being said, to the downside, 223, 222, 221, and then 220. I think we can bounce off that 220. We might even bounce off 222, like I said earlier, and then just see it kind of either fluctuate or go up again. So these are levels I'm looking at. I'm looking at 222 and 220 to get into a call option myself. So it's kind of an early play, but I want to see how it reacts first. I don't want to just buy into it. And that's what I recommend you guys doing too. We did kind of get a bounce on 22339, but at the same time, I think we might see it bounce down even more or we might see it just kind of fluctuate around here. So just keep that in mind for your future plays. If you do want to play something, I think Apple is decent to play, especially since we've seen it bounce off that 219 or 220 around like twice, and then it kind of just been holding above that for a while. So keep that in mind. SoundHound AI, we kind of had bearish trend overall, but then we kind of broke it today, but then we're kind of have a big sell off here. So I think SoundHound is still a decent stock, but with that bad news, or with that, it's not really too bad, but with that bearish news from Nvidia, I think we might see SoundHound maybe back down to that 15 level later on. But I don't have any levels for this, but just depending on how everything goes, I recommend just watching it and just being patient. I don't think it's a good buy level right now. I think if you do want to get into it, I'd look back down to that 15 level, maybe 1520, see how it bounces off 1520, and maybe all the way down to that 14 level if you really want to get into a decent play, like a safe play. But a more unsafe play, a riskier play, I'll look at it 1570 and maybe just see how the 1570 works. We might get back down there today if we do just keep looking bearish with this. But just keep that in mind. We do got Bitcoin. So, like I said earlier, 10% is going into retirement. And I think Trump's like talking a little bit more on crypto finally. So that's what this hype was right here. That being said, I do recommend just being very patient with it. Maybe watching that 102, 103 level, 103 level once again, and then seeing how it reacts off that. With that being said, I'm looking at MSTR with that. As you guys can see, we hit 390 and we kind of just bounced off it. But with that being said, I think next week we might be able to touch that 390 level again. So keep that in mind with your next plays because we're at 375 right now and we can probably get down to like 370 flat, maybe 370 flat, hopefully. And then if we can get down to that 370 flat, you can play it all the way up to that 390 and it could probably happen overnight and or just like throughout the day. So keep that in mind. We do got Palantir. We did get a decent buy, but then we bounced off that 78 level. We might be able to see 80 next week, but I recommend just being very patient with this one too. We did kind of have a decent sell off, but then we're kind of getting a buyback and just probably going to fluctuate. I do recommend looking at that 78 level and then seeing how it bounces off these recent bounces right here at 78.30. With that being said, if we can bounce above this, we might be able to see 79 and then 79.5 and then 80. So hopefully we can see 80 by next week. Hopefully we can see the stock go back up. I mean, this stock is pretty strong. I'm not even gonna lie. We did have a decent sell off recently, like all the way down to the 63 level. But as you guys can see, we bounced and we're looking pretty strong. So that being said, I'll keep Palantir in mind for a bullish play, but at the same time, I do recommend being a little patient with this one right now because it is kind of a bit overpriced. You don't want to get into it now and then it goes back down to like 63 to 70 level. So keep that in mind. I think GameStop, we had Warren Kitty come back out. He just posted something and then we seen decent fluctuation in it. So keep that in mind for that. But like I said earlier, I think Netflix is a decent play. Just be very, very patient because you don't want it to come like get into it here and it gets all the way down to 950 again. So keep Netflix in your mind, but I think Netflix is a decent play right now because we might be hitting that $1,000 level once again. They did show strong numbers, so I think Netflix is a decent play. I'm not even gonna lie. So I recommend keeping your eyes on Netflix, Nvidia, Palantir, and definitely Amazon to see what happens. I'm not saying be bullish with Amazon because we are kind of fluctuating now, but I think we can break some highs and probably keep going up with Amazon. And definitely keep Apple in your mind just because of how Apple's moving right now. It seems like we got to a decent low point with Apple at 220 and now we're kind of just bouncing up from that 220 level. So just keep that in mind. I do have 220 on my mind also. I think 220 is going to be definitely a buy level for me, but I think 222 today could be a decent buy level for a short-term play. So I recommend keeping these ones in your mind and definitely MSTR, just depending on how Bitcoin moves. Because if Trump talks about crypto a little bit more, and if we can get great news with it, we can probably see crypto meeting some high, like all-time highs, maybe 110 level, and then people are estimating the stock all the way, or this coin all the way up to the 200 levels. So keep that in mind. But that's like later on this year. But that being said, that's my outlook. Let me know in the comments down below anything else you guys want me to look at. And the market's kind of uncertain right now, but it is pretty much looking bullish at the same time. Tesla kind of, I, I really just want to see some good news with Tesla or just something with Tesla, honestly. But we can probably see Tesla down below the 400s again next week if we don't see any good news. So just keep that in mind. But smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.